Today's date is January 13th, 2015, and we are on the air. I have my new blog, Blog Talk Radio. Telephone call-in number for Blog Talk Radio, 718-506-1864. One more time, 718-506-1864. Blog Talk Radio, Ron March. We're starting up the show, a 2-hour program. We blasted this program out of Detroit, from the territory of the great Northwest Territory. And we are blogging, and at the same time, we are dealing with, here we go. At the same time, we're going to deal with, let me get it straight, my website. You can go to my website and see me, Ron March Show. Google Ron March Show. And when you get to Ron March Show, we want you to go to live, Ron March Live, and you can see me live. All right. We got a good sister out of Texas going to join us momentarily, but I want to get started right now and get the program on the way. Now, tonight's show, we want to deal with a major issue in the black community. Forgive me for calling it black, but until we educate ourselves as to who we really are, let me just call us black to make sure we all are on the same page as we started out. I could easily call you Negro, but I definitely don't want to go there. So we're going to say we're talking to black America right now. Now, the bottom line is there is a major problem in our community when it comes to 501c3 and the Ecclesiastic doctrine of the IRS and the Constitution of the United States. I have been led to believe that the 501c3 and the Ecclesiastic is the same thing. It's the same project. When you mention one, you're really talking about both. And we have been duped into believing that. But the problem with that mentality or that concept is everything that's been given to us as a black nation, which was given to us by our founding fathers, our ancestors, all of it came to fruition prior to, let's give it a date, 1861. So if you can stay with me to realize that anything prior to 1861, I will call antebellum, ATTELLBUIM, bellum, antebellum. You can look it up, antebellum. I've never tried to be a professor. I just know what I know, and I try to give you the information of what I know. So antebellum. Now, in antebellum, our forefathers and ancestors knew that we were going to be in a problem because we had the European among us. The European was among us. In addition to the European being among us, we also had a huge problem with undesirable Moors. Undesirable Moors. I've often said that all Moors are black, but all blacks are not Moors. So as a consequence of that, we have ran into difficulty trying to distinguish between what is and what is not a good Moor or a honest Moor. Now I'm going to try and share my I don't know how I can do it. If I can share, I'm talking to the engineer right now. If I can share my desktop, I can show them I can show them. Yep. There we go. Okay. Yep, I can show you what I'm going to. Did you get it? Sharing now? Okay. Okay, good enough. All right. Now, what I've done was did research on 501c3 and the Ecclesiastic. Now, I don't want to give you the answer, but I'm going to ask you, do you know or do you feel that there is a difference between the two, or do you think they both are the same? Okay? Now, we have some organizations in our community, such as the Moorish Science Temple of America. We have our churches, and we have different independent organizations that are like NAACP. That's also a trust and a corporation. We got the Boulets. We have the fraternal orders. All of these organizations are in United States to promote black welfare. Now, to produce or to promote black welfare, you have to understand what blacks are they talking about to promote. That's where the catch is. Now, they all file for this 501c3 in order to get benefits and privileges from the IRS, the government. Now, the problem with that is the 501c3, when it comes to the government, they still control you. I don't care what you call yourself. Independent, you can call yourself, my mind is not clicking fast enough to keep up with my mouth tonight. But you can call yourself any type of trust, nonprofit. You can call yourself irrevocable. You can call yourself revocable. There are hundreds of different types of trust that you can build. And then you have to classify it with the IRS. Now, it may sound a little complicated, so I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs about the facts of 501c3. Number one, here's the first paragraph. Most churches in America have organized their organizations under a 501c3 tax-exempt religious organization. This is a fairly recent trend that has only been going on for about 50 years. Remember that date, 50 years. Churches were only added to Section 501c3 of the tax code in 1954. Now, the IRS has always had their so-called tax codes. I think it was put in place as far back as 1926. I'm not sure about that date, but it doesn't really matter. But due to the fact that preachers were beginning to wake up and attempt to organize their congregations on freedom, the white Lyndon Johnson, Senator Lyndon Johnson at the time in the 50s, saw fit to, here we go, Johnson was no ally to the church, Lyndon Johnson. As part of his political agenda, Johnson had it in his mind to silence the church and eliminate the significant influence the church had always on our shaping public policy. Now, for all of you young men out there, when you went to school, when I say young man, anybody from at least 60 years old, you'll probably remember when you began to ask a lot of questions and show that you had some intelligence. You only had two choices back in the day, and that was to become a Mason or a preacher. And the teachers had no qualms about telling you that you're so intelligent, you should try and help your people by becoming a minister, quote unquote, a pastor, quote unquote, a priest, or whatever the case may be. Some of us leaped on that. It was a trap set up for several reasons. Number one, to keep track of you after 1954. Number one, to keep track of you. Number two, they wanted to eliminate the voice of the black community because it became a political machine to shape public policies. And the European, especially the Democratic Party, Lyndon Johnson was a Democrat. The Democratic Party knew that they could not stay in office if the ministers turned their congregations against them. Even today, seldom do you see a Republican go to a black church. A lot of times the preachers may be Republican and talk about a candidate, but seldom does a candidate show up in a black church because of the disdain that black folks have for Republicans. So as a result, we're locked. We're locked into this phenomena that we are Democrats and we have to support Democrats. So Johnson, being a Democrat, saw fit to trick the black public and come up with this 501c3 and announce that the churches had to be a part of 501c3. Now, although Johnson offered this as a favor to churches, black churches, of course, the favor also came with strings attached, more like shackles. One need not look far to see the devastating effect of 501c3 acceptance has had on the church and the consequent restrictions placed upon any 501c3 church. 501c3 churches are prohibited from addressing in any tangible way the vital issues of the day. This is why we can't even hear the churches, especially after Martin Luther King. We could not even get any of the churches to organize to help all political issues because they were threatened by the government to stay in the church. Tell them they'll get their salvation, quote unquote, treasures in the by and by. That's why you know I have no feelings for preachers. None of them. Don't try to tell me yours is good. I don't want to hear it. They all belong to a cult that was designed all the way back in 1859. They were designed to freeze the minds of the black communities across America. Freeze the minds of the black community across America. I did a program a couple of weeks ago. I talked about 3 badges which came out of the 13th Amendment set forth by Abraham Lincoln. 3 badges set forth by Abraham Lincoln. One of the badges talks specifically about announcing the proclamation, which would be the announcement, the proclamation of curing the slaves that had been in slavery. Because if you think about it, if you ever been in shackle type slavery, and I don't mean this mindset we're in today, but if you've been in physical shackle slavery, you need some psychiatric treatment if you're free. Now, that type of slavery was much easier to overcome than the new type slavery that we're in today, which is held together by debt, because you are psychologically insane in America today. If you are a minor, a poor white, or anyone that bucks the system. So we can go with that. We can integrate it. Minors, black, and poor whites. So you are psychologically insane if you live in America today. If you're black, poor, white, minority, you're psychologically insane. I know you're going to say you're not, but most people that are crazy don't know they're crazy. Yep, they don't know they're crazy. But you got to be crazy if you've been living all your life at any age and realize that I've been telling you, you don't have a nationality. You don't have a free shake in the system. You don't care that you don't have a free shake. You don't want to know how to get a free shake. Anyone that tries to give you a free shake, you say they're troublemakers. You'll side with the government, which is the crooks, to turn against them. So if that's not an idiot or an insane maniac, I don't know what it is. I can tell you over and over that you're in a hocus pocus trick bag, and you'll look at me and say, oh, I may be, but I'm not as bad off as they are. Or I got a job and they don't. I have a car and they don't. All of those ifs, ands, and goodies and baddies, all that kind of stuff, that will make you feel like you are a little bit better than the average Joe. You are totally insane. Totally insane. They set up the 3 badges, and they reached for the ministers that was already in place. And they told the ministers that we have a special job for you. The program of the 3 badges, quote unquote, the 13th Amendment, was not only to free the slave, it was to psychologically help the slave so that he or she could get back into society and become a person of value. Well, I know and you know that that never happened. We have never been given that opportunity. So what we're doing today, we all are suffering. We all are suffering under slavery. They taught us in school that the 13th Amendment had 2 sections. Section 1 said that there'll be no more slavery in America. Section 2 said there'll be no more involuntary servitude. No, let me say it a better way. Number 1 said there'll be no slavery, there'll be no involuntary servitude. Number 2 said if there is any violation, there will be laws that will stop them from doing it. We all bought into that. But when I bring up the 13th Amendment, I find, first of all, that there are 20 sections to the 13th Amendment. And number 2, none of these sections freed us from slavery. None. They even went as far as Section 12, and I'll run down quickly to Section 12. And Section 12 says, the traffic in slaves with Africa. Notice how they specify. They didn't talk about the real slave that came from Yugoslavia or the Scandinavian countries. That's where the word slave, Slavic, come from. They didn't say that. They said traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein. And the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. This is Section 12 of the 13th Amendment. I've asked you to pull up the 20 you got to put it in when you Google it, the 20 sections of the 13th Amendment. Because if you just put in that 13th Amendment, you're going to get 2. This was a genius plan that they put together for a provision there that no more slaves can be brought over from Africa under harsh penalties. Why would you need to bring any more when there were hundreds of thousands, possibly a million at the time, already bred in to be slaves in the United States? It didn't say America. They said United States. Working for free. They were working for free. Why go through breaking process again of making a slave? Because you already have them made. So if you turn them loose and then set up laws to make them vagabonds and the penalty of being a vagabond was go to jail and or prison, you could create your own slaves. And that's what they did. Everybody looked at Lincoln as being a good president, especially for black folks. From now on, if I hear anybody say that, I'm going to check them. Black, white, green, purple, I don't give a damn. Lincoln was an ass. He was a racist, segregated, racist pig, a white supremacist, although he was a mulatto. He loved white folks, hated black people. And it became a process for him to get elected and reelected if he leaned on the process of freeing slaves that were white. Everything he did was a true process, but our terminology of the process is hindered by the fact we don't read. When they say free the slaves, we would think about freeing us. No. The problem of the Sine Die, which was the date, landmark date of the antebellum versus post-antebellum, which was 1861. The problem was mulattoes. There was no way to tell who was black and who was white. If you were light and white, you were white. If you were brown and dark, you were black. But that didn't solve the problem. Why? Because if you go by the blood count of a person, they came up with the octoroon, they came up with the quadroon, they came up with there was one more, the fifth room. If you were fifth blood of black, you were labeled black. If you were octoroon, meaning you were eighth, or if you were quadroon, you were fourth. So what about the ones that were 10% black? If someone knew that they were 10% black, they were slaves. So once they passed the law in the South called the Fugitive Act, and that Fugitive Act was written in such a way that the slave owners could go north, because everybody was fleeing to the north once they figured that slavery would be, especially when Lincoln said that he was going to abandon slavery and free the slaves, they all fled north by running away. Well, the South passed laws that they could go get them. So if they had two blackies, and I mean black in color, that left, sometimes they'd come back with 10 so-called runaway slaves. 8 of them would be octoroons, quadroons, whatever the case may be. There were, at one time, there were probably as many whites in slavery in the South as there were blacks. Lincoln ran on the policy that he was going to free the white slaves, not the black slaves, the white slaves. And the European that made us go to school, he knew he could differentiate between the white slave and the black slave by calling a slave a blackie. You never thought that there were white slaves. You never thought about it. A lot of you right now are probably challenging the thought that there were white slaves. Whites feared slavery 100 times more than blacks did. Because once those so-called runaway mobs, take another look at the movie Buck and the Preacher. When that Cameron Mitchell came north with those all of those damn Europeans and rounded up a whole caravan of blackies and attempted to make them go back to the plantation. They didn't have any legal right to do that. They did it by destroying their food, raiding their camps, burning their crops, killing their animals, the chickens and the goats and the pigs, knowing that winter was coming, and then tell them we can give you a ride back to the plantation. And a lot of them went back. But during that period, they created the black minister. That's where I'm coming from today. They created a black minister. And all of you sisters and brothers that went to school, most of the time, 99% of the time, when they mention anyone black in the so-called Negro history, 9 times out of 10, he was a minister, reverend. Look what they do today. Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Jesse Jackson. These Negroes don't even have a church. All of Martin Luther King's group were ministers. They was in the streets and demonstrating every day. Why was that? All of them ministers. We were locked in it because we never thought, never even gave it a thought of what they were doing to us. They lured those black ministers into 501c3. Now, why would they do that? Why did they want them to sign up? Especially since, let me back up, the First Amendment. The First Amendment. Did the church ever need to seek permission from the government to be exempt from taxes? They lured them into the 501c3 that they created. Keep that in mind. There was the tax code that had been there all the time, but once they created the 501c3, they lured the ministers into the 501c3 by giving them tax exemption. Now, when I say that, everybody agrees. But listen to this. The First Amendment of the Constitution, First Amendment, clearly places the church outside of the jurisdiction of the civil government. Congress shall make no law respecting and establishing a religion, nor prohibit the free exercise thereof. So how can you charge a church, which is a religion, how can you charge them taxes? Why would you want to sign up for 501c3? Y'all need to ask a minister when you go to church Sunday. He'll probably lie and say he's not a member of 501c3, but I guarantee you he is. Why do I know that? Who told him he didn't have to pay taxes? He's not smart enough to read the Constitution. We don't read. The Constitution says we don't have to pay taxes if we have a church. I'll read it to you again. The First Amendment clearly places the church outside the jurisdiction of civil government. Parentheses, quotes, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Religion cannot be free if you have to pay the government. So by you joining the 501c3, thinking you don't have to pay your taxes, and the government already says you don't have to pay taxes, the only problem you got is the restrictions of 501c3 that tells you, and I read it in the first paragraph, 501c3 churches are prohibited from addressing in any tangible way the vital issues of the day. Now, want me to read that again? It's a trick. The government constitution that we gave them, remember that. We gave them peace and friendship. We gave them the Constitution, the organic Constitution. Okay? We gave them the Declaration of Independence. We gave them Articles of Confederation and Articles of Association. We gave them 4 contracts. They signed and agreed on all of them. When you go to the Bible, and I'm not a Bible buff, there is a book of Ecclesiastic. In that book, it talks about the freedom of religion and ministries. Religion has a large definition. Let's go back and check it. Let's go back and check. Got it right here. Let's go back and see if I can pull it up quickly. Oh, I know where it is. Religion, the definition. 26. That's not it. Religion. The legal basis of religion. Definition. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. The corporation formed for the purpose of religion is an important element of American ecclesiastical organization. The American Religious Corporation differs in origin, function, and power from the ecclesiastical corporation known to the European law, which is the product of canon law. I'll stop there to say to you, ecclesiastical corporation that they talk about in the Bible has been here for thousands of years. It's been here. The trick was to create a shadow ecclesiastic corporation known as 501c3, make you join 501c3 so you'll come under a different jurisdiction. Jurisdiction, rules, regulations, and formulations of an institution. Jurisdiction. Come on, think about it. This is very important. We're caught up in a huge hocus pocus trick bag. We need to sit down, lay on the couch ourselves, and tell us ourselves everything we've been taught is a damn lie. And we have to worry about who taught it to us. Number one, why would the preachers continuously teach you this when they know they don't have to be 501c3s? When you go to them to help you, they say they 501c3s. They can't do it because of the restrictions that I just read. You cannot get into public affairs. Only because they signed up for a institution that already told them they didn't have to sign up. You're born into ecclesiastic corporation. All grannies had a Bible, which made them ecclesiastic. Every granny had a Bible. Whether they went to church or not, every granny had a Bible in the day. I'm not talking about today, because you got some very young grannies today that are lost. You got grannies today could be 50 years old, maybe some younger. Because you got granny at 50, you got a daughter at 18 or 17, and daughter's got a baby. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke it. The baby's grandma is 50 years old. Granny at 50 today knows nothing. She won't read. She won't try to read. She's trying to survive. I'm not throwing stones. I'm just saying. Debt is so great, you don't have time to read and try to find out what's going on. This is what they do to us. Okay. Canon law is hundreds of years old, thousands of years old. It has been here. It has been developed by analogy from the corporation of civil law based upon Roman law. It is not an American development of the English legal. Did I miss it? I think I did. What did I do? I miss religious corporate in the United States based on corporate. Oof. I missed it. I got to do something here real quick. I missed my place where I was at. I'm trying to do a lot, and I'm not that smart. But my purpose in even bringing this forward is because I thought that 501c3 at my age, 73, and Ecclesiastic Corporation was the same thing. And it is far from being the same thing. And when I tell you that one is private, the Ecclesiastic Corporation is private. You don't need any government to tell you what to do. Once you establish that you are ecclesiastic, and the Bible tells you how to become ecclesiastic, because all you're doing is raising your family in a religious way. Period. Zero. Zilch. You're covered. You are covered as ecclesiastic. Now when you jump into the so-called 501c3, you come up under the United States government. Ecclesiastic, you come under God. 501c3, you come under the government. IRS is in all your shit, all your business. The corporation formed for the purpose of religion is an important element in American ecclesiastical organization. The American Religious Corporation differ in origin, function, and power from the Ecclesiastic Corporation known to European law, which is the product of canon law and has been developed by analogy from the Corporation of Civil Law based on Roman law. You can't get no deeper than that under Ecclesiastic. It is not an American development of the English legal Ecclesiastic Corporation, which is composed entirely of ecclesiastic persons and subjects in the ecclesiastic judicial territory, judiciatories. The religious corporation in the United States belong to the class of civil corporation, not for profit, which are organized and controlled according to the principles of common law and equity as administered by civil courts. Distinction is necessary between corporation of religious society of church, which it may be connected. Let me get this up a little bit. I got it now. May be connected. Yet, here we go. The church is a spiritual and ecclesiastic body, and as such does not receive incorporation. Whoa. The church, which is your family, which is your state, your government, home, I'm talking about, not public government, private government at home. Your father, grandfather, your grandmother that runs the entire corporation of the marches. I'm a march, your family. What we're talking about. The church is a spiritual and ecclesiastic body, and as such does not receive incorporation. It is from the membership of the religious society that the corporation is formed. Whoa! The corporation exercises its function for the welfare of the church body, over which, however, it has no control. It cannot alter the faith of the church or receive or expel members or dictate relations with other church bodies. If we're not talking about Granny and your family, and again, I'm older, so my grandmother, if she was alive today, Granny would have to be on my father's side. I got to guess, because I'm the third in the family of the offsprings. I don't know. Granny may have to be 175, maybe 200 years old if she was alive today. So we're going back in time to show you how the system was working back in time. When they came up with this in 1954, I was approximately 9 or 10 years old. I wasn't concerned about police a job, food, association. I don't know what else to tell you. I played ball every day in the summer. I had a paper route. No problems. None. Granny took care of everything. If my father had a problem, he'd go to his mama. And I mean any type of problem, marital, financial, or otherwise. If he committed a situation where he either or embarrassed or caused a problem out in society, the grandmothers would get together and solve the problem one way or the other, where everybody was pleased. The government today saw that and knew that they could never control us unless they destroyed that. In 1954, I read that for you. Lyndon Johnson, the Democrat, who everybody believed was in support of Martin Luther King and our civil rights movement, because a lot of civil rights was passed during his time, was the biggest racist white supremacist, one of the biggest racist white supremacists that ever went in the White House. And he would promote racist acts such as, he was a senator then. Eisenhower was the president. Eisenhower, in addition to the 501c3 that was brought up by the Senator Lyndon Johnson, Eisenhower tricked Granny into bringing the Bible, black Bibles, bring them in. Everybody out there, if your mother's alive, ask her what color is the Bible she got. 9 times out of 10, it's a white Bible. Huge, large white Bible. Leather, gold trim pages, red marker flag, a ribbon, red marker. Oh, Jesus, blonde hair, blue-eyed, pale skin hanging on the front, stretched out, first couple of pages, where she used to write our register of deeds of property and all of the activity in her family. She used to do that. But today, it's gone. Seldom do we go there. We're down in the Europeans' register of deeds paying money to get what we used to get free. Marriage license, all of that came from Granny. Birth certificates, all that came from Granny. They could not destroy us until they destroyed Granny. And once they did that, it was all over. So, as a result, it is from the membership of religious society that corporations is formed. Corporations exercise its functions for the welfare of the church body, over which, however, it has no control. While the religious corporation is frequently organized to carry on some religious enterprise without connection with a local church body. Wow. The greater number of religious corporations in the United States are directly connected with some local church body. The greater number of religious churches. And it is this connection that their power and duties will be considered. You need to study the process of Ecclesiastic and 501c3 and find out why Lyndon Johnson did not like ministers, because they had to zero in on the black community. Y'all got to keep that in mind. They had to zero in on black community. So the best way to do it, you had to destroy Granny in order to make the European enterprise known as, quote unquote, United States of America, Inc., operate. They were at a snail pace of production, and it took a process. They couldn't do it overnight because some grannies were in the know, other grannies were not. So as a result, they had to, let me get it right. As a result, they had to, here we go. We got a caller. Let me hold on that caller 1 second. I see we got a lot in the chat room. IRS. Let me read some of this. The IRS did it to control them. Give him cash benefits, then tell him do what we say or lose the benefit. You are totally correct. And it worked. And it's working today. Okay, let's take this one call. 314-761. Your line is open. You have a question or comment? 314-761. Do you have a question or comment? I think I got everything open, and I do not hear the question or comment. So we will continue. We're getting close to the top of the hour. I see where they wanted to talk. We got 4 callers, okay? Now, I wish I could give you more information on the 3 badges. And I can only give you what I researched and discovered. And as a result, here we go. As a result, going in December, the 3 badges, I'm trying to run it real quick. November, December 17th. There we go. This may not be the right one, but it talks about the 3 badges. That's a big one. That's not the one I want. Anyway, I'll be able to pull it up when we come back from break just to bring you up to date on the 3 badges. Some of you have never heard about it. I can break it down. This might be it. I can break it down from the way it was given to me, but I don't have it right now. I'm not that good with this this hookup on putting all this stuff together. But it's time to take a break. We're at the top of the hour. Let me take another look at the where we at. See how many, if we got a call. Let's try this caller one more time. Caller 314-761. Your line is open. Hello. As I expressed earlier before we went out, I was going to deal with, come on up, baby. There you go. I was going to deal with the 3 badges. I wanted you to know how and why the Ecclesiastic Corporation and the 501c3 is a confusing factor in our community today. Okay? No church needs to be a 501c3, which means that they could help the community. They could help the community organize to benefit the well-being of our community, to educate us. The 3 badges were set up. Once the slave was freed, it would need financial help. It would need psychological help, social help, a lot of things a slave would need once he was freed automatically. But at the same time, when they freed the slaves, Lincoln, being the racist that he was, I know that might be a shock to you when I tell you that he was a filthy, racist pig, Abraham Lincoln. We should never even think about honoring him on the fact of freeing slaves, because he did not free the slaves. Immediately after he signed the so-called Emancipation Proclamation, he began to create laws on the federal level of the United States on the federal level of the United States to re-enslave the slave. To re-enslave the slave. He knew after the war was over, which was a ruthless, unprecedented type war, and I'm going to do a show real soon on some of the factors that were involved in the war, that made it such an ugly, evil, racist war. There was a need to end the war quickly, and Lincoln passed some rules through. Well, actually, he used the what they called executive orders to have his generals do certain things that were a violation of today's Geneva Convention. But one thing he did, or one process he got into, because he said if there was any way to keep the country united without freeing the slaves, he would leave the slaves in slavery. But that conversation was rewritten by the European in order to make us believe that everything he did was to free us. And I'm telling you, nothing he did was designed to free us. Nothing. His purpose was only to free the European and the mulatto that was passing as a European. So when he set up this so-called Emancipation Proclamation, it was broken down into 3 sections. First section, emancipation. You need to look that word up. Emancipation was a definition: free from all physical bondage. Emancipation. Free from all. Free. Emancipate. Free from all physical bondage. Now remember, psychological bondage is worse than physical bondage could ever be. Okay, number 2, the proclamation. What is a proclamation? Proclamation is only an announcement by an elected official, a proclamation. You made an announcement a couple of weeks ago when you had a New Year's resolution. You probably told a barefaced lie and said something like, I make a resolution, I'm going to stop drinking, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to jog and get in shape, I'm going to be better at this or better at that. Those are nothing but proclamations. Nobody cares because there's no law behind it to make you do anything. And number 3, compensation. We were to be compensated for our years of bondage. And this is where they created the so-called minister. The European, after they got rid of Lincoln, we're going into, if you recall, my deadlines. We're after antebellum, and now we're in post-antebellum. Because once they offed Lincoln and put their own persons in place, they began to manipulate and change and maneuver and misrepresent the laws that were put in place. So they, in turn, called in the ministers, or got the word out that they would promote ministries throughout the so-called slave community, or so-called South. And the compensation, they made the ministers agree that they would teach Christianity and preach. They would teach Christianity and preach that your reward would be in the by and by. Your compensation would come to you in the by and by. They still talk that shit today. Same bullshit they talk today. You're going to get yours in the by and by. Be thankful that you're alive. Yours is going to come in faith and belief. Nobody does that but a jack-leg-ass preacher. Tell that damn lie. That's why I won't say anymore in that area for now. But the result of that was to make sure that the ministers were compensated individually for their conduct. So what they did, they gave them benefits and special privileges. A lot of places they could go that the regular ex-slave, quote-unquote, black could not go. A lot of activity that he did for the community, for the white community, for the building of the new white nation. All of those things were done by the black minister. One of the biggest I'll call it Jabaroos, biggest problem he had was to tell on blacks that were Moors and wanted to teach the truth of who they really were. This was a no-no. This is why you read where the Europeans would always put a snitch in the congregations when they wasn't picking cotton or doing the battle. As the preacher would preach that they was going to heaven to get to by and by, he'd put a snitch into the congregation so that he would make sure that the preacher stayed on target and preached what he was supposed to preach. There was no 501c3 then. There was an Ecclesiastic corporation, but most blacks didn't even know about it because a lot of them couldn't read or write. A lot of the black males, knowing that the life would be better to be a minister, signed up right away or set up congregations. All of this was in benefit of the European because now he could control the masses by keeping tabs on the minister, so-called minister. Now, a lot of this was done unbeknown to the minister, but today we should know better because we can read history and we can find that we're worse today than we were then. We're no closer to freedom today than we were then. We're no close to being compensated for all the devilment, and that's a weak word, devilment, all the atrocities that were created against us as owners of the land by the European. There should be a memorial at the White House right now to apologize to the black community what the European has done in order to build this thing and put it in place the way it is. Nobody talks about that. Nobody brings up the raw history as to what they have really done to us. Nobody reads and I'm going to do more. I'm telling you, I'm going to do a show on this, how treacherous Lincoln was, knowing that once he set those slaves in the Confederate land of the South free, once he did that, they would become instant vagabonds. And once they became a vagabond, they were breaking the law. And the rules of a vagabond can be a lot of different rules to keep them in place, a lot. Number one, you don't have a job. You're a vagabond. You don't have a house. You don't have a home. You got a family. You can't take care of the family. So what happened? You were rounded up. Once you were rounded up, you became property of the government. May it be township, it was municipal, regardless of where it was. Now they had free slaves. Think about it. They stopped calling you a slave. Now you're a vagabond. You're breaking the law just to be alive. Who ever heard of such shit? You were worse as a vagabond than you were as a slave, by definition, because a vagabond, nobody cared about your life. No one cared about your life. As a slave, the owner had to protect your life if you was a good nigger, because he owned you and needed you to work the fields and work the crops. But since the war had destroyed everything in the South, they said those generals that we praise today, Sherman, Robert E. Lee, all that bunch of crooks, they were killing animals, burning crops, tearing up railroads, bending railheads, anything and everything they could do to destroy the South. They did it. And it was all political because Lincoln wanted to make sure that the Democrats did not get a toehold and change the political environment of the United States. So they had to make sure they destroyed all of those areas of votes that would normally go to the the Democrats. We don't look at that the way it is. Most of us don't even know about it. And the worst thing about not knowing, you don't want to know. You can't even answer why you're in this hocus pocus trick bag that we're in. You were born in it, you live in it, and the name of the game is you're going to die in it. And if you don't get your head above water and try and learn what really is going on with you, you're going to be, you're in a hell of a fix. And the best weapon that they have against you is the minister. He's a lying, dirty heart dog. Every one of them. Don't tell me mine is good because we going to heaven and he preaches about God. Forget that. God take care of those who take care of themselves. And if you're going to stay there and pray that you're going to have a better day, you're going to die right there where you're praying. If you don't get up and do something, you can't receive a miracle if your eyes is closed and your hands are collapsed praying. You can't get shit. Whatever's coming to you, you're not going to get. Oh, I'm telling you. We are in a hell of a fix. But we can get out of it if we just wake up and try and study. You hear me? Just study. Now, my website tonight is Ron March Show. That's my email address. You can email me, and I'll send you any information you may need that I have my hands on. I can send it to you. Or Kako. Yep, we got a lot of people listening in tonight. I'm trying to just lay out the difference. 501c3 versus Ecclesiastic. We have a lot of organizations that make themselves or call themselves 501c3. We jump on it. And I keep preaching. You got to remember Granny. Granny was always ecclesiastic. Granny was always. She taught the way of life. She taught religion. She taught sociology. She taught it all. That made her, in her jurisdiction, be exempt from all taxes. You never heard Granny talk about, think about this. In the South, I didn't live in the South. Further south I was Illinois. But I met a lot of people in the South. And in my later years, within the last 20 years, I've been South and I've seen some. I've talked to people who have property in the South. I'm thinking about a brother right now down in the Georgia area that has property down there, over 350 acres that was given to him by his grandparents. And he was in the deed for the property. Granny, listen carefully, Granny never paid taxes. I'll tell you something else. I just come back from a trip. I was on the highway. Come out of the South. I just got back. And we were passing farmland. Some of those farms are 5-10 miles. Nothing as far as you can see, nothing but land. You know, corn or whatever was there. We're in the winter time, so nothing's growing at this time. Well, I'll ask you, who's paying taxes on that land? Where did that European peckerwood get that land from? Have you ever asked that question? Have you ever wondered how much tax it would be on a farm, a corn farm, or cattle, all those cattle, all that assets, just the taxes? Have you ever thought about that? How would that farmer keep up on the taxes? I got the answer right quick. As long as he has a Bible in the farmhouse, as long as he has a family that lives in the farmhouse, as long as he teaches his family to be farmers, hear me, you don't have to pay taxes. Why? Because he will formulate under the clause of Ecclesiastic. Hello? Do you hear me? Let's see if we can we got a caller. 763-391. Your mic is open.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you very clear.
All right.
It's Minnesota.
Right. Well,
yes, sir.
I am listening, and
yes, sir.
Everything that you've been running is right on point. Everything that you ran is right on point. In fact, it's so much on point that religious piece is so much on point that it's just too much almost. It's almost too much because we have been so indoctrinated into this religious theory that when you run it the way you run it, you make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. but I am enjoying, and I am keep on citing the spot so I can look it up because we need to look it up. I need to the audience needs to do their own research.
Yes, they do.
If you have problems with what you were listening to, you got to do your own research so that you can either if you find out something different, call in and tell where you got it so we can get this information out there.
Yes, very good. Now let me ask you: is there any other way you think I can get this information out? What else? I can only tell it the way it is, and I can only see it the way I see it. And I'm not criticizing or anything. I'm just saying I want to keep everybody on with me. I don't want to lose anyone, and I know I'm not losing you because I've talked to you before. But if you have any type of input that would help my presentation, I would gladly, talk to you about it or listen to what you have to say. You follow me? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I got some critiques for you, but I'm gonna give them to you later because I want you to keep going. And then the show is so powerful. I went on your other website. I thought you were gonna be on that one. I went and looked at it, and they ran some commercials, but you, of course, you wasn't there. So I switched over to this one. And I'm just waiting to see how that works out for you.
Okay. Tomorrow I'll give out that new website because there's a couple of changes that had to be made, and we did one tonight, and we're going to do the number 2 tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll give out that new website and then shut down the old website. That's my intent. Okay?
Okay, so then when you do that, the only quick suggestion is when you do that, shut it down, you should have them link you to the new one. If possible, if you leave it up for a couple of days, link it so that they can so that they know where to go. The people who don't have the new information, if they go to the old website and they see it shut down, they may not know where to go. So if you leave some type of link out there or a page that says you've moved, something like that'll assist until people get
Yes.
the new website in their brain and get rid of the old one.
Right on, right on. You need to move to Detroit, brother. We can use a young brain like yours. Especially get out of that zero weather. All right. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I appreciate you
calling. Caller.
I talk to you, brother. Peace. Right on with the right on. All right. So that 3 badges, that blew my mind. Now listen to me carefully. Tomorrow night at 6:00 Eastern Standard Time, I will be on with a blogger from Detroit, Beverly D. And the program tomorrow, we're going to talk about a new look at Django. Now, for all of you that don't know, when I say new look, everyone that saw, if you got a copy of Django, you should look at it tonight. Because a lot of people didn't catch the first phase of Django that I gave to, I met Beverly D by doing a show on Django. And that is that the entire movie was based on UCC. Everybody knows about the UCC. But you sit there and look at the movie and it never clicked in your mind that they were giving you the entire program of UCC right on the screen. When it started out, they had 6 slaves, quote-unquote slaves, and 2 Europeans on horses, and they were taking them from point A to point B. Those slaves were property of a slave master. When the wagon, the dentist, that wagon, showed up at night and said he wanted to purchase one of the slaves, the movie started. Well, the 2 idiots that were so-called slave runners had no idea what he was talking about. So he ended up killing one of them and then killing the horse that fell on the second one and broke his leg. He was still alive, but he broke his leg. He uncuffed Django. No, he went down the group of 6 and asked, did anybody know a particular family of crooks? Django said he knew who they were. So he freed Django. That was the first time he met him. And then he went over and gave the slave under the horse the fee of the slave that completed the contract, made the European sign the contract, which made it a complete contract. Then he left. But before he left, he told the other 5 slaves that you are now free. You got a choice. You can go back to the plantation and tell that slave master what happened here, or you can go north to Chicago where there's freedom. And for you, anyone that don't know where Chicago is, follow that star. He parted up to a star, the North Star. Just go north. Just keep going north. You're running to Chicago. From there to the ending of the movie, they talked about nothing but contract. I was given another slant on the movie, and tomorrow night I'm going to go through the movie again, and I'm going to knock your socks off. Some people say they don't like to hear that. I'm going to give you another view. I'll say it that way to keep everybody posted. I'm going to give you another view of Django, and you're going to appreciate the view because I know you never looked at it or thought about it from the way I'm going to tell it to you tomorrow. Okay? And I'll go through it all and lay it out for you. Okay. Now, if there's any other callers, yep, there's no more callers, then we're going to continue with the 501c3 and the Ecclesiastic Incorporation. One is private, which makes it a natural law from God. Granny came from God. I love that. Your grandma, and I'm going back. I ain't talking about these 50-year-old grannies, and I don't have anything against anyone. I'm just trying to make it clear that the knowledge of Granny, and Granny's got to be anywhere from 70 all the way up today. I'm a grandpa. I'm a father, a grandpa, and a great grandpa. And my wife is I know she don't want to hear it, but she's a granny. She's a mother. She's a granny, and she's a great granny. We love it as a family. We love it, and we educate and try to hang on, and we try to lay this knowledge on them. And this is what my grandma used to do with me. And I've talked to my wife about it, and her grandmother did the same thing. Granny ran the families. Granny, in so many words and deeds, was the registry of deeds. The Europeans saw that. That's where the registry of deeds come from. Granny. We're in a hocus pocus trick bag, ladies and gentlemen. We think we know something, and we really don't know a damn thing, because everything that's been given to us is either or a barefaced lie, or it's been so manipulated that it's ass backwards. I'll venture to say, let me figure out how I'm going to say this, because I'd like for you to challenge me, and I'd like for you to call in and call me a lie. I'd love for you to challenge me. Now listen to this carefully. I'm going to bet, and I'll leave the door open for anyone that wants to either or call in or go to the chat room. Oh, yeah. Granny's Hand by Bill Withers. I got that from my brother. Yes, that's a good one. Oh, yes, that's beautiful, brother. Granny's Hand. Granny's hand, and she live on the water, Grandma's hand. I'm telling you. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. And I got to tell it quick because I'll forget. Let me get it right. I'd be willing to bet that I will not get a call in tonight or on the chat room, it doesn't matter, that you have really seen the organic Constitution of the United States. Now, this is how far back I'll go to show you that we have been duped. We have been lied to. We have been manipulated. Everything that we think is real is not real. When they talk about Matrix, I'm telling you, they're really talking about something. Because what we think we know, we don't know. And it takes an idiot, and I call myself an idiot, but I got to be strong. It takes a hard head like me to rattle your noggin to make you think that you have or have not seen, heard, or know anything about it. I'm telling you, you haven't even seen the Constitution of the United States. Number two, if I tell you that the Constitution of 1871 that was created by the Europeans when they incorporated under religious articles of articles of 501c3, you're going to tell me that that's an illegal law because it's a corporation. And I'm going to tell you it is not. Let me write it down real quick. I can do it real quick. Article 1. Anybody got a constitution? Look it up. I can do it quick. I'm getting smart. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17. And if you look at that, you'll see that the numbers gives you 1871. I'll say it again. Of the Constitution of the United States. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17. I'm a whiz kid. I don't even have it. I don't need it because I got it etched in my brain. If you read it, it tells you that we gave them permission to create United States of America. It's a de jure government, not a de facto government. Now, that'll bring on a lot of arguments. Because you got a lot of heavyweights out there that would tell you right off the bat that the Constitution, the Constitution is a shadow government that don't exist. And I'm telling you that it does exist, and it is a legal government. Yes. Now, what does that really mean? That means that we have to project ourselves from the original Constitution and keep them in check in the United States. Why in the United States? Because that's all we gave them was 10 square miles. They have expanded and stole, and really they have manipulated to make it into, you'll tell me all 50 states, so-called 50 states belong to the United States. I know better, but you're going to say that. But legally, they only have 13 colonies. That is the original United States. Or you can almost call it the original Fortune 500. Oh, it's mean. And since we have been to be real calm, cool, calm, and collected, since we have been put to sleep. We have been put to sleep. We've been put in the land of Nod. We let them take everything, and what they didn't take, we gave them. And so now we are the white slave, if you will, and they are the black Moor. That'll be good. You can yes, take that and run with it. Because if you go back to the original, there was a letter written by George Washington. You can look it up. It was written to the Sultan of the Moroccan government and our empire. And in that letter, George Washington was asking for more time to make payments to the Moroccan government. Why would he do that? And when did they stop making payments? And why would they keep that letter in place so you and I can read that letter? And why would they use words? So this English language is so trashy. I'll mention one word: commerce. Everybody thinks they know what commerce is. And the truth of the matter is, the real meaning of commerce is so far from what they taught us that we all get off in a tangent of money, finance, checks and balances, UCC, all of that's in commerce, that we never get to the original definition of commerce. So I'll say, what could that be? What could be the original definition of commerce? Well, I had it. Let me see if I can get it and bring it up. And if I can't, I'm going to tell you anyway. You know I'm going to lay it on you. Because our heads are like concrete. So what we need to do is see if we can find it. And I'm not sure. But I'll tell you that commerce is civilization. Civilization engulfs everything. If I give you civilization, I've given you a way of life. Commerce is a part of way of life because you have, here I go. Look what it says in the book, Bible. Why would you feed me fish when you can teach me to fish? Why would I want to feed you one meal, but if I teach you how to fish, you can feed yourself forever? Teaching you how to fish would be commerce, civilization. You can look it up yourself, and I hope you challenge me, so you will look it up, so we can have a little debate, a little conversation about it. But the name of the game, they use words that really throws us off because they control our minds with that public education. Elijah Muhammad said it best. the more education you have, the more professional slave you become. He said, I would rather talk to a kindergarten dropout than even try to have a conversation with a PhD, master, bachelor, or even a high school graduate. Because you ain't going to tell that PhD nothing. He knows what he does is correct because he have been completely groomed. Yes. Then, since I brought the mulatto process to you, start looking at the color of these so-called Negroes that they're putting on TV. Where are they finding all these light-skinned, attractive women? Where are they coming from? What are they? Negro, colored, European, mulatto? What are they? Hey, don't look at me like that. I'm laying it on you. This is a problem that they had in 1861 when they started the war. It was all based on nothing but mulattoes. Nothing but mulattoes. They won't tell you this. You really have to look at it from yourself. 90% of the laws that they make are about you. 99% of all the laws that have been passed are about you. We are the only people on earth that ever had a government. Now, we're not the only people that's been in slavery. Don't even get hung up with that. Because you're going to throw that in your face in a minute, and then bougie niggas would do the same thing. And I love to call them niggas because that's what they are. Remember, everything black, all Moors are black, but all blacks are not Moors. And those that are black and not Moors are your enemies, especially when the European can decipher them away. How does he do it? By color. And I'm not telling you that all light-skinned blacks are this or that. I ain't even going there. Because the only way you can really tell a Moor, number one, he's of color, which I just said. He's black or he's of color. But the only way you can really tell a Moor is the principles of life that he lives by. Love, peace. I wish I could run them off the way I keep practicing it, and I can't never do it the way I'm supposed to. But the 5 principles of a Moor, you can look at a person and see if he lives by those principles. A devil cannot. He's going to be a treacherous individual, and you ought to be, if you know what you're looking for, you'll see it. And if I knew what I was looking for, I could pop it up right quick and read it off to you, but I'm not that good, so I'm not going to waste time looking for it. But I want to tell you that we have a lot of work to do. We definitely have a lot of work to do. And it's not going to be a difficult process. Why? Because the Creator is doing over 60% of our work by creating these pitfalls, quote unquote, disasters, natural, that nobody can stop. And you got to ask yourself sooner or later, especially during the age of Aquarius. You're in the era of K-N-O-W. I know. You got to ask yourself sooner or later, why do I live like this? Why can I not get ahead? What's holding me back? That old pull yourself up by the bootstraps, that don't work. I know a lot of people that have struggled trying to be something other than what they really are. Some are still struggling today. A lot have given up. It's too difficult. Everybody listening to me today are listening because they were placed there by their creator, not me. I'm just a tool. I'm just a little bitty thing. But you were placed there to listen to this in order for you to better yourself. And I'm searching for knowledge to bring to you so that I can help you better yourself. And the more you can open up your mind and think, that's your biggest weapon right there against any obstacle is your mind. You don't need guns. Stay away from that. You don't need violence, attacking and all. You don't need none of that. You just need this. Because not only is this a mental thing, I can also tell you, and I know it to be a fact, thoughts are things, and things are physical. It's almost like a boxing match. I see an opening, and I know I got to set you up to stick this right in there. I'm thinking, and once I see that opening, pop, it becomes a physical thought that I popped it right in there. And you're going to do the same thing. And I'm going to help you because I got a lot of information that I've gained in the last, let's just say 10, 15, 20 days that I'm going to bring to you that you're going to need in order to go forward. We're going to start tomorrow with the new website. I'm going to get better on the radio talk, blog, talk radio, blog. I'm going to get better. I'm giving you desk. I hope you're getting the desktop so you can see what I see when I bring these things up. You can see what I see. And by doing that, there we go. And by doing that, you're going to better yourself and open up your mind. I just got a headline right here I can run on you. From 1869, think about that year, to 1871, when they created this thing called United States of America. The goal was to destroy Reconstruction by murdering blacks and some whites, especially those that tried to help the blacks, active either in republic politics or educating black children. Kill them. There was no qualms about that. They would do that today if they could figure out how to do it and not get caught. You think they want me to wake you up? No. They're going to do everything they can to hinder my coming to bring the presentations. But I'm going to do all I can to deal with you. And I got a new book that I've discovered. That I have. It's called Abraham Lincoln, the Filthy President. It's only about 20 pages, but it's very, very interesting. I'll bring that tomorrow and tell you where you can get it. And a new website, again, we'll deal with it tomorrow. All of these things that I have and I talk about, I'm going to put on my site. I'm going to have an area of books that I do have that you need to get, especially Black Laws Dictionary, especially this one, the Barron Legal Guide, Law Dictionary. It's a good one. And I showed a brother today the Indian law. I'll just read one sentence before I go off the area. Area of the law relating to Native Americans. They don't mention the United States. Native Americans. Native American is a preferred term for indigenous Americans. You and I are indigenous. We've been here all the time. Stop thinking that you was brought over here on a ship. You've never seen a slave ship. European can show you everything but a slave ship. And they're not going to bring 2 or 3 at a time. There ain't no money coming across that ocean with 10 slaves and knowing you're going to lose 30% of them. So what we're going to do We're going to lay it on you right now. We're about ready to go off the air. You've never seen a slave ship. You got to stop saying that you were brought here from somewhere. And when people say that, you need to ask them, where are you talking about? And when they say Africa, ask them, how long would it take you to get here? We're talking about 60 seconds. I got a caller that I can answer this caller. Those that are online, I'll answer this one caller as we go off the air that'll be from the blog. I don't think I can do that. Caller, you're going to have to call in earlier, or I need to do better than I'm doing. 314-761. Caller, you're on the line, but we only got seconds left. Are you there?
Yeah, peace. I just like to congratulate you, man. This is Sayael. Congratulate you on this journey, man, and how you giving clarification to all that, because you have to be commended on this, man, for real, because we need this, and pace this, and then take it seriously. Each degree that we learn from this, and inherently take this within and digest this seriously, and apply this with our lives, because we can apply these things. And this is, this is creating the new wave generation of the real policy within it.
I'm sorry I didn't see you to get to you earlier, but I'll be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So, ladies and gentlemen, all right, I'll be back tomorrow, and I want you to tune in, because I'm going to lay something on you that's going to knock your socks off. Until then, peace and love.